Hunters, how's it going? I'm back. I'm back for the 17th time. It's a CueBall's bearded Ramble 17. Today, I have the current Cirencester Wrestling Federation champion, Dangerous Danny Owens.
Hello.
How are you, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. New phone day today, so things are going good.
What phone you got?
Note 10, Samsung.
All right, yeah, that means nothing to me, so I don't know. But sounds good.
Because fuck iPhone.
Well, yeah, I got an iPhone. It hasn't. It served me well so far. So
I think you've got to have the Apple stuff like iPhone, and it's hard to get away from it.
yeah, I've had an iPhone for best part of 10, 12 years, something like that. But
There we go. So you're okay, but I had an iPhone for about 2 months, and I fucking hated it.
Each to their own. Each to their own, innit?
Exactly.
Right. So should we get into the questions? I have a few new ones today. I'm going to throw out.
Fantastic.
So obviously, as you know, you've watched this yourself. Everybody
I have.
I asked them how and why to get into wrestling. So that is my first question to you, Danny.
How? I wasn't really a wrestling fan growing up. Everyone says I started watching wrestling at like when I was 5. Like I didn't know what wrestling was. Never watched it before. I moved to Caerphilly when I was 8 or 9, and the boy next door was around my age, and he had all these wrestling DVDs and videos back then. Yeah. And I didn't know what the hell it was. He asked if I wanted to borrow one, borrowed one, and I watched. My first match that I ever watched was a 6-man midget match with Sonny as the special guest ref, and they were all in masks, and I thought they were children wrestling, and I was like, I could be a wrestler. But I later found out they were just small people. So yeah, that started my interest. I started watching more. Then we finally got Sky, found WWE on Sky, so started watching that. Loved it from there. Then when I got to comp, I had a friend there that was just as obsessed as I was. He found a training school in Cardiff, and that's where it all started.
Nice. Different story. I like it. Well, what was the training school?
I started with CELTIC. So Cayman was my first trainer. Yeah. Ed Ferris was assistant trainer back then. It was in once a month, the first Sunday of every month. So there wasn't much that you could really do at that time. But, once a month was good enough for me. I started training, and all the boys were fantastic. Loved them all. Still do.
So how long have you been? Okay, I know how long you've been going around, but for the people, for the millions watching at home, it's hundreds, if I'm lucky. How long have you been wrestling for? Wrestler.
So active wrestling about 12 years. Since I started training, because I started when I was 12, so no one had booked me because I was too young, insurance-wise and stuff. Altogether, how old am I now? I'm 30 in a couple of months. Fucking old. So I've been going 18 years.
Nice.
Non-stop. I've had no life.
Yeah, and I bet you've seen some shit on your way, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. I was actually talking to one of the boys earlier, and he was like, "You looking forward to doing this interview?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't wait." He was like, "I bet you've got some stories." I was like, "I've got 18 years worth." Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Most of them are probably 18 plus." So I was like, "Oh, most definitely."
Yeah, well, I mean, if you wanted to say any of them, I mean, Scouse did. I mean, maybe if you wanted to try and beat him, You know, on what he said.
I
If
don't
you
know if
can,
I'll beat Scouse. I got a story about Scouse. And
go on,
I'm
let's
sure
hear it.
he'll
If you,
love.
yeah,
I am sure he's gonna love me for telling it. We were backstage. I think it was a show in Abertillery, and um, for anyone that knows Scouse, we know he's petrified of clowns. And
uh,
one of the Cayman, our trainer, decided to put a clown mask on and chase him around backstage. Um, you could tell he wasn't happy, as you can imagine. He was just in the corner rocking, petrified for his fucking life. It was funny at the time, but now looking back at it, it's like, ah, man, poor guy.
yeah, that's a bit
But
of a dickish move, in all
but
honesty.
like he seen the funny side after, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was funny at the time, but looking back on it, it was like it's a bit under the belt, like.
No, no. Bless him, bless him, bless him, bless him. So,
But he's one of
next,
my he's one
no,
of my
no, go
most
on.
favorite guys. My most favorite guys in wrestling. Still, we still keep in contact. He's fantastic. I love him to bits.
Yeah, Scouse is one of my favorites. That's came out of wrestling as well. Always had my back. You know, whenever
Yeah,
they,
because he met me when I was still a young teenager, and him, um, Jesse Gilbert, Chris Recall, Cayman Bassey, they all looked after me. They all had my back, even though I was one of the younger guys. And like over the last few weeks, we viewed stories, and luckily, I didn't know many of them until later on, like even like finding out about some a couple of years ago. They kept me away from all that, so everything in my eyes was still like it was all nice and
yeah,
glitter and rainbow sort of thing. So I was kind of pushed away from the bad side. You obviously now, as you get older and you start getting into the business and getting bookings in other places, you see a lot of it yourself anyway. But luckily, back then when I was still a kid, they all protected me from it. They were all really fucking good guys.
no, fair play to him. Let's respect to him, you know, for doing that. We move on to the next question.
Let's
I'll,
go.
I'll take that as a yes. So I want to know what your thoughts are on the Welsh wrestling scene. You know, all the promotions are in the Welsh area or Wales area. There's a fucking load of them.
There's getting more and more Welsh wrestling scene. I've there's because it's such a small. There's a lot of promotions, but in such a small place.
Yeah.
Like in the South Wales, you've got at least 5 promotions going around at the moment. I
Yeah.
don't keep tabs on them all, but the majority of the guys that run these companies, I know I've wrestled, I've worked with in the past in other companies, that sort of thing. I think is fantastic. The only thing that I don't like is the politics. Like guys won't work for other companies because they think that they'll lose bookings with other companies because of it,
Yeah.
which is it really pisses me off because I get promoters, they may have like issues with each other, they may have heat with each other, but in my opinion, it shouldn't stop the boys making money. If anything, like say for instance, um, I don't know, JJ Roberts, because I fucking love JJ as well. JJ Roberts, he works for Exposure, but you don't see him in any other wrestling company in Wales. Like JJ's doing a lot for Exposure, but if he say wrestled for RIW, he was put on a poster, and then say someone come to a RIW show, but they weren't from around here, and then they seen JJ, they loved what he done, they go home and then see a poster for Exposure with JJ on there. They're like, "Oh, you remember seeing him in Port Talbot? He was great. Let's go to that show." I feel that letting the boys work wherever they want without any consequences, because I know there have been consequences for some of the boys that have worked in other places, I think is fucking stupid because it helps them and it helps your company get noticed as well.
Yeah, I agree. But politics in wrestling, it's always going to be in it. I mean,
Yeah.
We've been around long enough. We've seen shit. We've heard shit, and it's still the same nowadays. But I guess it's just not happening to us, thankfully. But yeah, like for any people who are just starting out, going to be starting to wrestle at the end of lockdown or whatever, or just starting to come out. That's always going to be politics. And the best thing you can do is just try and keep your head down and just try and stay away from it, because sometimes you can shit over your name.
Yep, exactly. You can do things you think are going to help and progress your career, but really you're getting blackballed by other companies because you've worked for that company, and it really fucking irritates me. Like, I'm pretty old school with some of the stuff, like in the RIW Training Academy. Like they're really good wrestlers. Like, some of them are really good wrestlers.
Yeah.
But I find you can be a really good wrestler, but then you're not going to progress much because you can't work. Working and wrestling are two completely different things. So I like to teach them a style of both, so they know how to wrestle, yet they know how to work a crowd. Because you see guys that are just there for the wrestling.
Yeah.
That's all there's no crowd interaction, and that's why we're there.
Yeah.
We're there to get them involved.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with everything that's been going on with this world pandemic, WWE is a good example of why an audience is so important.
Exactly.
I think everybody took the audience, like wrestling audience, for granted, but until this happened, it's like, actually, the audience does actually mean something, and it's crazy why it's only just up to realize.
They add to the match, in my opinion. You could have the fucking best match in the world, but if they are quiet as fuck, what's the point?
Yeah, it's all built around emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah, there we go. So that's your thoughts on the Welsh wrestling scene. Cool. So you've also wrestled outside of Wales, outside of Royal Imperial Wrestling. Yep. You've wrestled for Cirencester Wrestling Federation because you are their current champ, like you said. You've been a Carinian champion. I think you've been a tag team champion.
Yeah. I haven't been tag team champion yet.
What the hell did I think that?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's because I was thinking of myself. That's why, because me, like, yeah, you're the B-Tech Cue-Ball and I'm the B-Tech Danny Owens.
It depends who you ask.
Yes, it does, yeah. But and you've also wrestled in Scotland for Scottish Wrestling Entertainment. Yep. So let's talk about your time in Scotland.
It was fantastic. I only got up there on a whim because in this business is who you know what you know. I knew someone that was going up there anyway. He put in a good word for me. They was like, yeah, bring him up. I went up with Darren Goss, who was going to go up anyway. And who was it? I can't remember who I went up with. It was either Austin Dynamo or Luke Shoden. Was my first trip. It was the three of us. And I had a match against, because they were doing a European tournament. I had a match against Martin Stallion representing Wales. He was representing Scotland. I can't even remember how old I was, like years and stuff. They just go.
It was a few years. I think it was around like 2013, maybe.
Yeah, I was young. Yeah. Because I still couldn't grow a decent beard at that point.
Can't really, to be honest. There we go.
I still can't. It looks good on camera, but that's about it. You look at it up close in real life. But yeah, I had a match against Martin Stallion. It was the first time that I'd worked and planned a match spot for spot. So everything. He was the more experienced guy, so I let him take the reins. He was like, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. I'm going to punch you 3 times, and then I'm going to pick you up, and then you're going to reverse, and then you're going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then we're going to get back on top, and then we're going to go for the finish. I was always taught, plan the beginning, plan the middle, and then any high spots, and plan the end. Everything in between, just do on the fly. And you can call like reversals and false comebacks and stuff on the fly. So that was really hard for me, because when he was doing that, we'd gone through it like 5 or 6 times, and it was like 2 hours before the show, and I'm just sat in a chair, and I'm like, right, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, and guys are coming to try and talk to me, and I'm just like, leave me the fuck alone, because I need to get this like embedded in my brain, like. But the match went off without a hitch. I think it was a decent match. I think it elevated me and taught me a lot of things as well, planning it that way, because I've had matches since where I've planned it that way, and they've gone fantastically. But then I've had matches where I've only planned little bits, and they've gone great as well. So my brain still doesn't really take information. So when we do plan it like that, is a little bit hard, but we get there. I went there then, I think a couple of months later. There was a 2-day set of events. It's Saturday and Sunday. So I went up on the Friday, stayed overnight on the Friday, done the show on the Saturday, and I wrestled Owens Swinton. He was like a posh Scottish guy. Think back Triple H when he was the posh guy in WCW. I can't remember his name.
Terrorizing.
There we go. And then we had a good match. He beat me with a super kick, and I'm gutted that I've lost the footage, because the way I bumped the super kick made the super kick look fantastic. And I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass. And I was fucking, like, he was good, and I weren't fucking fit at the time, so I was blown up anyway. So he kicked me, and he does the Shawn Michaels super kick, where he kicks you in the side of the head rather than like face on. And I just like toppled to the side. I didn't take a bump. I just landed, and everyone thought I was knocked out. I walked backstage, and they were like, "Shit, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. That's cool." And then the next day, I had a match on the Sunday against ravishing Randy Valentine, who's now a commentator for Discovery Wrestling, and he was so funny. Like, he said, because we stayed with him that weekend as well. I think it was that weekend we stayed with him. And he is such a fucking good cook. So if Randy ever does watch this, like, big up on the pizza and the chili that you made, because it was fucking amazing. We had a match against him. We found a little trike, like a little toy trike in this community center backstage, and he decided to drive to the ring on this baby trike, which was got a pop, but he was supposed to be a heel, but I got a bigger pop than him when I come back, so it's all good. But that match was more comedy based than wrestling, which I enjoyed, and I'd never done before, so it was a little bit different. So I learned something new there then. I went once more as well, but I can't remember who I worked. Can't remember at all who I worked, which bugs me. But there's no footage, because I asked them for the footage of my match with Swinton and Valentine, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we'll get it to you." And it's just never happened, and that was like 7 or 8 years down the road, and I'm never going to see those matches. So now I always make sure that I give someone my phone to record. So I've always got, and I like to critique myself as well. I'm I'm my own worst critic, but I'll always watch it 3 times. I always watch what I could do differently, what I did right, what I did wrong, see how I come across to me, and then I watch it as a fan and see if I actually enjoyed the match or not. And then I'll process that and then watch it again as a fan just to see if I still feel the same way, sort of thing. So yeah, usually 3 times watching my matches. The Martin Stallion match, I believe, is on YouTube because one of the Scottish fans recorded it and sent it to me. So that's on YouTube somewhere, I believe.
Cool. I like what you do with your matches. It's different. There's a lot. It's different.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I have, people come up to me and give me advice and stuff, and I always take it in my stride, whether it be good or bad. I think constructive criticism is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not one of these guys that were like, oh, I think that move looked a bit dodgy, don't use it again. And then be like, oh, fuck you. Yeah. I'll be like, right, okay, what looked dodgy about it? Maybe I can work out the kinks to be able to do it again. And then if it keeps going the same way, I'll scrap it, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think, I think when people try to give constructive criticism, some people get offended by it because they think you shit on them. And really, there isn't, there are guys out there who are genuinely trying to help. And I if I try and give someone help, if I try and help somebody, I always make sure it is constructive. I always tell them I'm not shitting over you. It's up to them at the end of the day, and if they want to take it like constructive criticism or they want to get offended by it, if they want to get offended, then it just it is what it is.
People have asked me to watch their matches, and I've gone out my way to watch their matches, and then I'll see something that they could do differently, or to get a bigger pop, they could have done this before the move. They could have fired up there because the crowd were wanting him to fire up there, and then you lost all momentum when you actually did fire up over there. And I've gone and told them this, and they're just like, well, I've been told it was a fucking good match, so fuck you. I'm like, well, whatever. You asked me for my opinion, I give you my opinion. Other than that, it's a good match, but just I would have done that differently. But they don't see it that way. And there's a couple of boys still like that, and it irritates me because I've always been taught to be fair, I don't class myself as a fantastic wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the way I was taught was always really good. The respect factor, the look up to your peers. If you get told something, listen, take it on in your stride, sort of thing. So I'm pretty lucky in that respect. The guys that I grew up in the business with.
Yeah, I think it's honesty. I think a lot of people don't like honesty. I mean, in an ideal world, everybody would love to have a great match, but it's not. But it's not always going to happen. I mean, I still don't have great matches to this day.
I've had some fantastic matches, and then I've had some, and I fucking shit the bed. But shit happens. I was talking to. I'd done a thing with Kai a couple of days ago, and he asked.
I have seen that. That is Kai Sandbrook's Topic Thunder on his YouTube channel. There we go, Kai, if he's watching this. And
he asked me if there was a memory you could go back and change. What would it be? And I told him it was the match when I won the RIW title, because I got knocked out pretty early on in the match. And I couldn't see. I can't remember any of the match at all.
Okay.
I've watched it back now, so I can remember snippets, sort of thing, by watching it. But as much as I love the referee in that match, Chris is a fantastic guy. I was trying to tell him I was hurt, and you could see that I was trying to tell him I was hurt. but he couldn't hear me over the crowd. But luckily, Bish, being the professional he is, noticed that there was something wrong, and we ended the match early. Granted, Bish was pissed off that because we still had like 10 minutes left. But he could see I was hurt, so he was like, right, we're going home. Like, I can't remember winning the fucking championship. Me and the missus and a couple of the kids went to McDonald's after the show. We got up the next day and I was starving. I was like, right, I need something to eat because I haven't eaten since like the other day, because I don't usually eat on match days until after the match.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And she was like, what are you on about? We went to McDonald's yesterday. And she like, for some, I took the title in McDonald's with me around my waist, ordering food at the self-service thing with the title around my waist. So she took a photo. And she was like, we went to McDonald's. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay. It's like, don't remember anything.
Oh, crazy.
But so there's times I'd shit the bed, and there's times I'd like to like change, and matches could go either way. It's all about chemistry as well. You can find someone like me and Jordan Carter. I think our matches are great because we have great chemistry together. Me and Sid Oakley have had a trio of matches, and I think they were great because the chemistry between us is fantastic as well.
Yeah, there were some really good matches. Really good matches.
But then I've had other matches with other people, and we just didn't click. And don't get me wrong, they weren't like terrible matches, but you could see that there was something wrong, sort of thing.
Yeah, you know, don't you?
Yeah.
You know. Right, so we spoke about Scottish Wrestling Entertainment. So let's talk about Cirencester Wrestling Federation. What's that? What does that mean to you?
I love the promoter, Darren. I think he's such a good guy.
Kiss ass alert.
No, I've told him. I've told him he's too nice to be in the wrestling business.
He is.
Because you've in some way you've got to be a bit of a cunt. Sorry, that's a big swear.
Okay, cunt. There we go.
You've got to be a bit of a cunt in this business. At some points, you don't have to be one of those guys that shit on everything and shit on everyone. Like, I think I'm pretty respected amongst everyone I've met. But if I need to be, I can be a cunt. And they know that as well. Not that I've had to be to them, but they know I can be. And I think that's the way you have to be. And I think he is way too nice sometimes. He booked me for CWF1. I went up there. I didn't know what to think because I'd never met him before either. And he just randomly messaged me like, do you want to book in? And I'm like, yeah, cool. He let me take a couple of the Celtic trainees up with me, because at that point I was going up to Merthyr when Cayman had his dojo, and was training with them. And because I was still getting bookings, I was like, right, I'm going to try and help these guys out. So I took a couple of the guys up there from me. They worked with me. So we had a tag match. We had a triple threat. There was me, a guy called Steve, and the Don in a triple threat match. And then I had a tag match with the Don and Mad Tony Cyrus, and Bulldog was my partner.
Yeah.
And I think it worked out well. They were fun matches. Then the second show, he let me bring up Luke Showdown.
Yeah.
We had a match. I used a super kick as a finish. The super kicked him, he blocked, but there was like that much of a gap. So he was like, right, do it again. So I kicked him in the face, busted his lip. Then as he went down and I went to pin him, I stood on his finger and broke that as well. So that was fun. I had a decent match with Don Bryce. That's like, it's up there on one of the ones that I'm proud of, because I hadn't seen Dom do much
Yeah,
wrestling wise, but Dom listened, and he took everything in his stride. I did kick him in the face as well because he blocked the super kick by that much, and Chris was the ref, and Chris was like, "That looks shit, Dom. You blocked too much." I was like, "Right, kick out of it, and we'll do it again." And then he didn't block it, and I kicked him in the face as well. But other than that, it went off without a hitch, and that's when I won the Carinium title. But straight after the match, Logan come in and cashed in his golden ticket. So I was champ for about 5 minutes. But 5 minutes, I was still champ. I then went on to win. It's easy with Cirencester because they only do one show a year. We then went on to do. Can't remember the match. Oh, I was in a match against Kilbane. I don't think he was Kilbane there though. I'm thinking of he was Nathan Bain.
that's right.
In Cirencester. And I beat him for the golden ticket opportunity. Then Thundercat lost the CWF championship to Logan, so Logan was a double champ. And then Logan, Nathan Bain, and a couple of others started attacking Thundercat. Me and Bulldog made the save, and then I cashed in my golden ticket and won the strap. Year later, I lost it. I was supposed to have a match against Heyman, which we've been trying to do for fucking years. So I'm super fucking excited by this. I'm like, yes, I finally fucking get to have this match. And then something happens and Heyman don't show up. So I have a match against Don. He beats me because Bulldog hit me in the head with the chair rather than him. And then the following year, I got the belt back because Don didn't show up. In the contract, they stated they needed to give it back, so I'm champion again. And then I had a match against Bulldog, which I'm also proud about, because I think it was such a simple match as well. There wasn't many bumps. I think it was only like 5 or less bumps each.
Right.
So it was really easy on the body. And the match went off pretty well, and I've watched it back a few times. That's one match amongst a couple of others. There's not many that I'll watch. As I said, I watch them 3 times, but there's the odd couple of matches that I watch more. And like if I miss wrestling and I go back to like watch RIW stuff, I watch my stuff because I'm a mark for myself, as you can see behind me.
That's I noticed.
So the match with Bulldogs, one of the matches I watched back because I was proud of how simple it was and how it come across. And my stepdaughter was managing me, and the finish was she hit him with the RIW championship. Excuse me. And the way she hit him, holy shit! It was a good shot. You heard it like. It was good. So I was proud of her for that as well, because when she was managing me in RIW, I had to tell her a couple of times to stiffen up a little bit because her shots didn't look great. Like,
Right.
but even Bulldog was like, yeah, hit me as hard as you can with the belt. I've got a thick head, and fair play she did, and it was really good.
Cool.
Right. I know we're recording. I'm just going across the room just a tiny bit to grab a drink. So I'll be off camera for like 2 seconds.
All right. Yeah, go on.
My voice. Right, where is it? There it is. Right, I'm back. Sort of. There we go. Back. That was easy. So yeah, CWF, I love it.
Yeah, I like CWF as well. I'm glad I went back. To them. I was there when they done. It's actually before it's CWF. It's when it's run by. I don't know. I think his name is
Ken something. Yeah.
I think it's got. Yeah, that's when I went down there when they first started doing stuff. I was in a tag match.
Because I remember him before, but because he retired for ages.
Yeah, I think he done like a juggalo gimmick, didn't he?
Not when I knew him.
Oh.
So this is me going like all the way back. Before I started wrestling, I was doing ring crew for like Celtic, and I do it for Welsh Wrestling. Back then it was PPW.
Okay.
He worked for PPW. He used to travel down with the 4FW guys.
Okay.
And he was called the Rough Rider, and he used to do
That's
this
it.
convict gimmick. Yeah. So I knew him then because I thought he was funny as fuck. And he come to when Cayman had the dojo in Merthyr. He come back like he just done a one-off training to come and visit Carl, and I didn't know who the fuck it was because he changed so much. Because when I first knew him, he was like he was a rake. We'd put on a bit of timber. He looked a lot better for it. And I asked Carl who he was, and he was like, "Don't you remember him?" I was like, "Holy fucking shit!" And I messaged him because I was sitting on the sidelines and I was helping with Cayman, and back then he used to help me with little bits. Like we'd have little training sessions before, like the shows and stuff. And his positioning on the move wasn't great. So I went up to him and I was like, "Oh, if you move your hand this way and then do it this way." I can't remember what move it was, but I was like, "Right, yeah, just change your hand this bit." And he was like, "Oh, awesome, thanks, man. Like, cool." And I felt like a right dick, like trying to explain to him how to do something because I didn't know who the fuck he was.
Yeah.
And knowing him all those years ago. So I messaged him and I was like, "Mate, I'm so sorry." I was like, "I probably thought I was a bit of a dick," like, and he was like, "Oh no, it's fucking cool. I learned something new. It's awesome." I was like, "Oh, thank fuck for that you didn't take offense to it." But yeah, he was a cool guy.
Yeah. So let's speak about the infamous Celtic wrestling because that's where
Let's do it.
pretty much all started for you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it because I know there's going to be a couple of Celtic guys wanting to hear your story about Celtic wrestling.
Yeah. So before Celtic was Celtic, it was just the training. So as I said, we were doing it once a month, the first Sunday of every month. So we were going there. I was meeting the guys. This is where I met like Cayman, Chris Recall, Bassey, Bolt. There was loads. But because I was so young, because I started when I was 12, they took like most of them took me under their wing. And we become friends. Like I know I was like a kid and it's weird for like adults to have like friends who are kids, but I consider them friends, and I like it's not like they're gonna invite me over their house for dinner or like for a pint or whatever. But when we were there, I was their friend. That's how I felt anyway. I've talked to Recall recently, and he was like, "I still watch all your stuff. I still keep an eye on you. You're probably one of the only boys that I do," which I fucking love because I always looked up to Recall so much. He was the one that taught me how to run the ropes properly. I had to get rid of the little skip that he done in the middle of the ring. He'd like take 2 steps, skip, and then go. And so I had to get rid of the skip. But he taught me how to run the ropes. Cayman was he wasn't much of a chain guy. It was more power moves. So like Ferris was there to help with the chain stuff. I used to like doing both styles, like learning both styles. But then when we had the ring, when Cayman finally bought the ring, and we were constantly in the ring then, it was brilliant. Moving forward then when the shows started, I was doing ring crew, I do music, merch, door. I was just anything to help the boys. I'd be like a food runner. One of the boys would be like, "Oh, can you run to McDonald's down the street and grab me a cheeseburger?" Like, yeah, fucking give me money. Anything that the boys needed, I do. No questions asked. And I think I got more of a respect when I finally started wrestling then. I had my first match then when I was 16. It was a handicap match. It was me and Ed Bailey, who then went on to become a referee and a ring announcer, against Death Row, who's a fantastic guy as well. Like Scouse said, people have may have a different opinion to him, but Death Row's the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And I think exactly the same. He's fantastic. He used to look after me as well quite a bit. He used to drive me from place to place if I needed it. So that was that match. Then the next thing that comes into my mind was when Bassy took over. Because I weren't wrestling much when Cayman was promoter and booker. When Bassy took over then, we were in the studio bar. And then the studio bar were changing from like a music venue to a bowling alley. So we couldn't have the downstairs anymore. But they had like a floor upstairs that they said we could have. I don't know if they just give it to Bassy or whatever. Bassy had a ring, and he used to, when we was doing, we got like the whole upstairs, like the flooring down and all that shit. And me being me and the other two boys from the ring crew, we'd go there, we'd help him out. And that's the first time I really realized how much Bassy looked after us, because we just went up there to help just because we had nothing else to do, sort of thing. Yet we were doing all this work, and I think Bassy noticed it, and he gave us like 20 quid like the first day we were there, and I'm like, oh fuck, fair play, thanks Bass. And he bought us our food as well while we were there, and I think we were there for about a week. And every day before we left, he was like, here's your 20 boys. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, he didn't have to.
Yeah.
We weren't there to get money off him. And another thing I liked about Bassy, well, besides the fact that he always fucking booked me, like back at the start of Celtic, up until like the later end before it closed, I was just like the jobber guy, which is fine because I loved my fucking time in Celtic. Absolutely adored it. No matter who I was wrestling, winning or losing, to me, that doesn't matter as long as I'm in front of those fans. I'd probably say I wasn't ready enough to be in a ring at the start of it, but I was there anyway. But he always found ways to put me over, even though I was losing. And then I got told I was, towards the end, I got told, well, between that, we had another promoter, John Millard, who I've never had a problem with him at all. Like, I know some of the boys have, but as I said, like, I was kept away from all that sort of stuff. So I've never really had a problem with him. The only problem I did have was when he was booking Celtic and he was like, right, we're going to do this with you. We're going to do that with you. Be at the show. And then the day of or the day before the show, he'd be like, oh, we don't need you now. I'm like, so that like rubbed me up the wrong way a little bit. But I've seen him since. I had an interview with him back last year, I think it was. And like, as I said, I've never had an issue with him. So I weren't really around Celtic much at that point. And then Bassy took back over, and this is where the second surge come for him. I think it got a lot better then. We were using Dragon Pro guys, and the Dragon Pro training school is something else, as you can see from their track record. So we were using some of those guys, and then he was like, "Oh, right, you're gonna answer a tag team invitational for the tag team titles." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." I'm in my head thinking I'm losing day before the show. He was like, "Right." I was like, "Who's my partner going to be anyway?" He was like, "Oh, it's going to be me." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." He was like, "So you're ready to become a champ?" I was like, "What?" And me being the young guy, like knowing that I'm going to win this first title, I shit myself. But I was so excited as well. So he told me the day before the show I had no sleep because I was so excited to win my first belt. Um, my my ex hated me. She couldn't fucking stand me that night. But we got there. Issues happened in the match. Bassi got injured. Excuse me. Bassi got injured. We had to finish the match a little bit premature. Not by much. It was only like 2 minutes left in the match. But T-Bone, Tyson T-Bone come in. He grabbed me. He was like, "Right, roll me up," because he seen Bassi hurt himself. I was selling on the outside, so I didn't see fuck all. All I seen was Bassi roll past me, say something to me, and didn't know what the fuck he said. And I'm like, "Right, what's going on?" And then T-Bone just grabbed me. And he was like, "Roll me up," and he stayed down for the 3. We won. I still didn't know what was going on, but yeah, I won then. And then we had the little bit where I had to post promos every week looking for a new tag partner.
Yes, I remember that. I do remember that.
And they were fun. There were some good ones, but then there was some other ones that got cut because they were absolutely fucking shit. They were awful. I done some with Jesse Gilbert. I done one with Jesse Gilbert's mate. I done one with my best mate, which I think is the best one. The one where he said he's washing his hair. I think that I always think that one was the best one. There was a couple of others, but they weren't that great. And then I got Death Row as my partner, and we won the championship. Oh, someone's at the door. Excuse me a sec. There we go.
That's his new entrance. That's his new entrance theme, by the way, guys.
I think it could work. I'd make it work. Yeah, and then I won the tag team straps for the second time with Death Row. We lost I think 2 shows later. I think I held them a total of 8 months. That's the 2 combined, which I was super happy to do. While I was champion though, because Celtic being like my home promotion, I wasn't really there for the money sort of thing. I was like, right, anything to help the company. But Bassi always paid me. Used to give me 15 quid. And then when I turned champion, he gave me my paycheck or my pay envelope. And can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Right, sorry, because these headphones, they're sound cancelling, so I haven't got a clue if they've gone off because I've had a notification saying the battery's dying. So he gave me my pay envelope, and I opened the envelope, and there was 20 quid in there. And I'm like, "Oh, Bassi, you're giving me too much," because he used to look after me, as I said, so I didn't want to fuck him around with money. And he's a scary dude. I've seen him angry a couple of times, and yeah, I didn't want that on my back. So I was like, "Oh, Bassi, give me too much." And he was like, "No, you're a champ." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Champions get extra." You always give the champions, no matter how much they got paid, you always give the champion extra money.
That's cool.
Which I thought was cool as fuck.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
And that was still, I don't talk to Bassi much. We had a chat a couple of weeks ago when this speaking out movement started.
Yeah.
Because he was like asking if anything ever happened to me. Luckily, I was pretty lucky. So we don't talk much, but he's still the boss. Like he's like every time I talk to him, is like always boss. He is, even though he looks scary as fuck. And for anyone that didn't know him, you'd probably like cross the road if he was walking up to you. But he is one of the most nicest guys I've met in this fucking business. like such a cool fucking guy.
I mean, I've only had the pleasure of meeting him once. I used to speak to him a fair bit when I was younger, and then I actually met him properly at the wedding, and nothing but nothing but niceties from the guy. Got a lot of time for him. He's a good bloke.
He used to take me traveling as well with him. So when he used to have his ring, there was only me and two other guys that were part of the ring crew that knew how to set up his ring. And we'd have to tell him how to help us set up his ring. So obviously when he was booking his ring out and he was going all these fucking places, he'd have to take us with him because he didn't know how to set the ring up. So I think that was pretty fucking cool as well. The fact that I got to travel, even though I went booked on the shows, I got to travel with him just to help do the ring. So I got to see other wrestlers that I wouldn't have usually seen in Celtic, in other promotions. We hired a ring for one show, and me and the boys helped them, obviously, with ring crew. So we were helping them unload and set it up, and it was a new ring, so they had to tell us what to do. But they were like, "Oh, we're staying here tonight and then doing a show a few miles away tomorrow. If we pick you up, do you want to come and do the ring job with us?" So it was a new company. It was only ever once, just that one ring job. But we got to work for another company as ring crew just because they did a ring job for Celtic and we helped out that much, sort of thing. So we got to see a whole nother company without wrestling. So it was good. My time in Celtic was fucking fantastic. I miss it so much. I still do. One of the boys that used to manage Bassy, Aaron, he's back on the scene now. He's involved with the RIW in some capacity, and it's so cool talking to him because I didn't get a chance. Like, as I said, everyone was much older than I was, and they're going to find it weird if they're talking to some kid constantly. So we didn't really talk much back then. We knew of each other and we'd done the pleasantries and shook hands and how you doing sort of thing, but we didn't really talk. It's only been the last year or so that we've actually talked, and we're like such a fucking super cool guy. And it was random that he come back as well, because when my missus was pregnant with my daughter, we went for a scan, and I sat down and I done the usual thing, swapped my phone out, waiting in the waiting room, and I heard someone talking to the side of us, some guy talking to his missus, and then he was like, "This day can't get any fucking worse. I got to sit in the opposite Smurf for like half hour," and I just like, "Wait, what?" Looked up and it was him, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" So we had a chat. We talked about his time when he was working for Johnny the Body and or Johnny Rose, and we were talking about Celtic. And then I was like, "Oh man," he was like, "You still wrestling?" I was like, "I wrestle around here," and he was like, "Wait, there's a company here." I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "You should come back." So we started messaging back and forth for a bit, and I was like, "Right, you should come back. Just come to training, like meet the guys, see if you like it, whatever." He come to training, and he's been a thorn in my side ever since. But he's the best thorn. It's like a rash I can't get rid of, but when I wouldn't want to.
Nice. So we are going to go on to picture time because I still haven't found a fucking name for it yet. I will. I'll find
Picture time is cool. I like picture time.
Yeah,
picture
but
time.
The name's just shit, though, isn't it? It's just like picture time. Yeah, I need a gimmick. I need a gimmick for it. So anyway, I'm gonna bring up a picture, and this is gonna be from Danny's past, and he's gonna describe it to me and you guys watching. So hopefully this will work this time, because on the one I've done with RAW general manager Big Duff, it didn't work apparently. But
no, it didn't.
Let's give it a go. There we go.
Right, where do I see this? Oh shit! Right, okay. So this match was in Fockrue, in the Valleys. I didn't know what I was doing that show. I got a fucking amazing story from this show as well. And I got told that it was a quick squash, but I got to wrestle Kate Callis. and Cade was always cool with me. He knew I was like one of the boys, and I was just starting out, and he used to help me out loads as well. Um, he was one of the English guys. I think he'd moved to Wales at this point. Um, but he was like, right, we're gonna make you out to be bigger than what you are, sort of thing. He was like, so I want you to come face to face with me, and then I want you to slap me as hard as you can. And me being new and Cade being this fucking monster of a guy compared to me, I was like, right, okay, I'll slap you. I slapped him, and he was like, do it again and do it properly. So I fucking whacked him, and he was just like, that'll do. And then he just went on to kick the fuck out of me. He was going around the ring with me on his shoulders because he was what did he do? He put me on his shoulders, and he was either taking me to the table to drop me onto the table, or he was going to bench press me over the top rope and throw me over the top rope. But in the pictures that were taken, you can see, like, because as I was going around, I felt a slap on the ass. I was like, what the fuck? Did Kate just slap my ass? But then on the pictures, you can see this kid from the audience, like, fucking going to just slap me. And he's like about a foot away from my ass. And I was like, Sue slapped my ass. But I really enjoyed this match. Cade looked after me so much. Then at the end, he made me like as I said, I was like a jobber at that point. But he put me over so much in that match by doing so little. To the point where after the show, this one family were like, right, you were our favorite tonight. I was like, I didn't have any offense in the match. I had nothing. I just got my ass kicked for 5 minutes. Yet I was their favorite. So I was like, that's fucking awesome. That they bought me a pint after the show, and then they were like, can you have a photo with my family? I was like, yeah, fucking cool. So they give the camera to some random. There was like 6 or 7 of them, and one of the family was a little old lady. Like, she must have been in her 80s easy. She was like really dead age sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I'm standing next to her. She's sitting on her chair. I put my arm around her, and the guy with the camera is like, say cheese, and I'm like, cheese. And then this little old lady starts playing with my bum, like proper squeezing. I'm like, what the fuck? I look down at her, and she's like got this fucking toothless grin on her face, and I'm like, nice. Okay. And I was like, right, I'm fucking off. But yeah, this match, I like that venue as well. The venue was small and intimate, and I like that sort of thing when smaller, more intimate venues are packed out.
Yeah.
Because there's more you can do with the crowd, I feel, than having like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds scattered everywhere.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
But I love this venue, and the only thing I don't love is the fact that I look like a fucking skeleton. And I hate my fucking gear as well. The only good part about this photo is that I actually have hair.
Yeah. I miss my hair days as well. Sucks.
Yeah.
There we go. So, but that was Celtic wrestling, though, right?
What's that?
Was that Celtic wrestling as well?
Yeah, that was, yeah.
I thought so. Cool. So there we go. There's Danny Owens' picture time. Did I find a fucking gimmick name for it? Right. So, Danny, next question. I want to know what your highs and lows are in your career so far. That rhymes.
There was right. Okay, so a low. I haven't got many lows. I've had bits that I've not liked, and wrestling's pissed me off at times. But I wouldn't say they're lows, and I'd say they're more teachable moments that have taught me things to do differently in the future.
I like that.
The one, I'd say there's only one, and it was when I was 16, 17, I believe, or 17, 18. And this was when all the cliques started happening. And I got taken into this one, and the leader of the clique took like a couple of trainees under his wing. And at that point, I was still a trainee. So he took me, Ed Bailey, a couple of others. But he used to take advantage a lot. Like, he used to get, I would never do it because I was working away. I lived in Swindon at the time because I was working up there. So I'd only see the guys on Tuesdays when there was Celtic training in Cardiff. But when I was off for like, say, a couple of days and I could come down and I was spending time with them, I'd see the things like he was making the trainees buy him and his missus food. I know one of the boys paid like 250 plus on his weekly shopping because he was promising them bookings with other promotions. I got out of that pretty fucking sharpish because I'm like, no. I was like, that's not for me. It lasted about a year altogether. And I think the fact that I was working away and I wouldn't pay for his stuff. I got bullied a bit more than the other boys, but I think they seen what I was getting, and if they didn't buy his food or whatever, they'd get the same deal as I was getting, and they didn't want that.
Okay.
So a couple of the other boys stayed for a little bit after me for about a year or so, and then they fucking up and left as well. Because at that point, I said to Bassy I'm pretty sure I told Bassy the other week when we were talking, once I left there, I was contemplating quitting wrestling completely, because one of my mates, Ed, did because of that. He didn't think it was for him anymore. That's cool. He went off and did his thing. I was sort of in the same boat, mind-wise. And Bassy booked me on a show. And if it weren't for him booking me on that show and me going to that show and seeing how cool the locker room could be with all the guys that I thought were my mates, and they are my mates, they're still my mates, even though we don't see each other, I think I would have been gone. It was the only reason I stayed was because Bassy booked me on that show, and I fell in love with it all over again. Because of the boys. It wasn't because of the wrestling, it was because of the backstage atmosphere on that show was so fucking good. So I don't know if I told Bassy. So Bass, if you watch this, you were the one that maybe not quit.
He was your hero.
And I'm glad he did. But then I wish he didn't in a way because my back is fucked. But no, I'm so fucking happy with the way it turned out. So that'd probably be my low, was letting myself be in that situation for so long. My high, I see everyone says like winning their first like heavyweight title. And don't get me wrong, the CWF heavyweight title and the RAW heavyweight title were fucking massive to me. But it was probably the excitement I felt when I first won the Celtic Tag Team Championships. Like, as I said, my ex-missus fucking hated me the day before because I couldn't fucking sleep and I was hyper as fuck. So yeah, it was probably that, just the adrenaline rush of not even being in front of, like, even being at a show, just being in fucking bed trying to go to sleep. The adrenaline rush and the excitement of that, I think that would probably be my biggest high.
Nice. Like stories. Cool. So, okay, so that's all my questions for you. That was all my questions for you. But fear not. there are other questions asked.
Okay.
Ooh, the first one I'm gonna tell you is from Bassi himself.
Okay, let's go.
You kind of answered this earlier, so I was like, "Fuck," but it wasn't. Didn't actually answer it to a point which is good.
Right.
So
Okay.
basically, in a nutshell, he is asking what was going through your head when. Hang on, I'm reading this. What was going through your head when his quadricep snapped in the ring?
Yeah. So I didn't know it actually happened. As I said, I was like selling on the outside of the ring, because I'd just done a hot tag to Bassy, so he'd come in, cleaned the house. I've watched it back, and it was done an elbow and slipped off the rope. And I don't think he done it there, or he might have injured it there, but I think it snapped when he went to stand up, because you went to see him go to stand up and then just fall
Yeah.
again. But obviously I didn't see that, because I was out on, I just taken an ass kicking off Jesse Gilbert and T-Bone. So I'm on the apron, laying down, selling, waiting for a spot with Jesse, because I was going to pin Jesse. And he rolled past me, and he said something. Don't know what the fuck he said. I didn't hear him because the crowd were fucking on fire, so loud. So I'm like, what the fuck did he say? And then all I felt was like T-Bone's hands like grab my head. We won the match. I won we won the titles. I'm in the ring celebrating, still not knowing Bassy's fucked. I'm like, my first title win. I'm fucking excited as fuck. So I'm up on the fucking middle rope, like fucking giving it all that shit, and with the belts and whatever. And Bassy's like, get down here and help me. I'm like, right, okay. For some reason back then, right, whenever I got my ass kicked in a match, no matter where they were, they might not have even touched my leg, but for some reason I'd always walk to the back with a limp, even though they didn't touch my leg, right? So I talked to one of the boys, and they were like, it just looks like you're taking a piss out of Bassy by limping. And I'm like, yeah, it does. But it wasn't. That was just how I fucking sold that I got my ass kicked, was by limping, even though that they didn't touch my leg. But he called me down. He was like, right, come down. And his brother was out there, like helping him. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? He was like, I fucked my leg. So we get backstage, and Bassy fucking smokes like a train. He is Bass, you smoke too much. He smokes like a fucking train. So the first thing he done when we got backstage was like, oh boys, I need a fucking fag. So he goes out the side door, fucking sparks up a fag, and he was like, oh, I need someone to take me to the hospital. Can't remember who drove him, but he was getting in the car but couldn't lift his leg into the car. And Bassy's a big fucking bloke, and like he sat there with his one leg hanging out, the one he tore. He's just hanging out of the car. He's like, Dan, you're my partner now. You need to help me get my leg in the fucking car. You need to act like a partner. I'm like, right, okay, cool. So I'm this scrawny little fucking kid, and I'm trying to lift this fucking, like, Bassy is fucking huge. Like, he is built. And I'm trying to lift this massive fucking leg that's bigger than my head, like, into the car. And I shit my pants. I lifted it up, and all I heard was him fucking screaming pain. I was like, shit, he dropped his leg. And I was like, fuck, okay. So he's screaming in pain. So I'm like trying to lift it, and I got it in. He's like, right, fuck, okay, shut the door for me. And I'm like, right, okay, bye, Bass. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately, like at the time, I didn't know it happened until he called me down off the second rope. Because he called me down. If you watch the video back, he calls me down, and when he tries to like do this to me to come down, he's like he puts all his weight on his leg and falls, and like has to grab the rope to like help himself back up. So it was at that point when I got out of the ring, and I was like, what the fuck's happened? Why are you getting carried? He was like, oh, my leg's fucked. that's the first time I realized that he'd fucked his leg up.
Damn. The next question is by Don Bryce. Who started the name Smurf?
Cayman. When we were doing training back in Cathays, I used to have a set attire for training. It was always my Cardiff City shirt and a pair of tracky bottoms, and they were usually blue Adidas tracky bottoms, so it was all in blue. So he started calling me Papa Smurf, and it's for some reason it stuck. It stayed at Papa Smurf, and then it got shortened to just Smurf. And there's only a select few people that call me Smurf now, Scouse being one of them. Aaron. I had the nickname in college as well because one of the ring crew that called me Smurf was in my college class, and there was 4 Dans in my college class, and they were like, right, we need to differentiate you, like, so have any of you got nicknames? And he was like, oh, is this Smurf? So all my college mates call me Smurf as well. But yeah, the originator was Cayman.
There we go. That's where the name Smurf come from. David Evans, the son, not the father, you know.
Right, yeah.
You all know them.
Lil Dave.
Yeah, lovely bunch they are. Are you going to be looking for any more backup teammates?
It's interesting you should say that. Watch this space. That's all I'm going to say to that one. I'm not going to give my plans away because Dav might find out. But yeah, watch this space.
Yeah, shh, don't tell Dav anything because he's on to you. Speaking of Aaron has asked you a question.
Okay.
Which member of or members of the Celtic roster would you love to work now? Without Cayman, because we know it's going to be Cayman. Who else?
Cayman's one of them, just because I won that trainee-trainer match.
Yeah.
Me and Chris Recall have always wanted a match together, but it didn't happen. So he's another one. If I was going tag team Method of Madness, Scouts and Jesse Gilbert, like 100%. I need that match to happen.
Wow. It may be happening. It might happen. You never know.
Happen.
You never know. I know they got the itch coming back, but
I know. I'm seeing this, and I'm putting feelers out there, so we'll see.
Well, on episode 20 of CueBall's Bearded Rambles, I have a Method of Madness reunion. So
that's fucking class. I can't wait for it. I can't. Scousers was so fucking good. I loved Scousers.
And there's more. I think I'm going to be
there's
parts to it.
Yeah.
I've got to get him back. So, another question by Trimble. Mark Warman. We all know Mark. We all know and love him. Yeah. So, you're a former 2-time tag team champion of Celtic Wrestling. So if that company hadn't folded, which other championship would you have wanted to compete for and why? Interactive or heavyweight?
Obviously, I'm going to say the heavyweight, just for the fact that the people have held it. Like the people I used to look up to back then, like Chris Recall, Cayman, Bassey. But I think out of the two, it'd be the interactive, as long as it went back to what it was at the start. Because at the start, you had the champion, but then we had votes. So people have like 2 days to vote for who they wanted to see fight for the championship. And then once that participant was selected or voted for, whoever had the most votes, they'd be facing the champion, and then they'd have another vote for what sort of match.
Oh, nice.
And hence interactive. And I used to love that format. So if it went back to that, because I know in the end days it was just another championship called the Interactive Championship. But if it went back to that, definitely the interactive, otherwise the heavyweight.
Kai, your young Padawan, as we will say.
Padawan.
A different match? No, that's not what he said. He said a match or an opponent you'd work differently now.
I think, I don't know. work differently. What do you mean? Like a match I've had and now I
I would
work
say,
differently?
yeah, I assume that's what it means. So you've had a
Right,
match.
okay, so I'll go with that. Um, oh man, that's hard.
That's what she said.
Yes, you did. Right, okay, so I had a match in Celtic that no one really knows that was me. I was the Black Ninja for one match because someone didn't turn up. It was me and Captain Jack Swallows versus Method of Madness and Death Row. So that's the only time I ever got to wrestle Scouse. That was the only match that we'd ever been involved in. I've had a couple of singles with Jesse, and his is joint top. Our match that we had in Newport is like up there with my favorites.
Top Notch Wrestling Alliance. Moscow.
That's the one. That's the only time me and Scouse ever worked. But I think I'd work it differently in the way I portrayed this ninja character. Like I got thrown into it. I got my ass demolished in the first match by Tyler Brown. And then we had to go back then, like to me, kayfabe is still a big thing. And back then it was as well. So there was one bit missing in the mask, and it was the face bit. So I was like, I need something to cover my face. And they were like, oh no, just go out. No one will be able to know it's you under the hood. I'm like, they see my fucking face, they're gonna know it's me. So I think it was Scouts that actually he had a black t-shirt. So we wrapped that around my face. And then I had some of Death Row's eye makeup and put it around my eyes. Just so I looked a little bit different. So I think it would have been that match, and I would have, because I just wrestled like I usually wrestled. I didn't, granted I was just thrown into it like at the deep end sort of thing, but I never wrestled like a ninja, if that makes sense. I wrestled like back then Danny Blue Eye would wrestle. So there was no differentiating the two characters besides a ninja costume. And the fact that I would have had the fucking face thing because the fucking t-shirt fucking flew off at some point, and every move that Phil and Scouse were doing to me, they're trying to hide my face because kayfabe was a big thing to them as well. So they're trying to hide my face, and then I'll take a bump and my arms over my face like that so no one can see my face. So they can't see my, like, obviously I had a mask on, so they wouldn't have been able to see my reactions anyway, but it was like muffled under my arm. So yeah, I changed that match and the way I wrestled that match.
Cool. Last question by Alex Thomas is all-time favorite pay-per-view and why?
Oh, fucking hell.
Not that there's many to choose from, you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go with, because as I said, I was a massive wrestling fan to start with. It was gradually a thing, and I can't remember years. I just remember. This is the only Mania that I actually remember the number of because of a match. If you like, obviously Andre and Hogan is number 3 because everyone knows that. But Rock versus Austin at 17. That was the first time I properly watched Mania.
Good Mania.
And that match made me fall in love with wrestling in a whole different way. And I've heard like Stone Cold didn't even like the match, like him turning heel, he didn't want to, and I'm like, but it was so fucking good. It was so good. So I'm gonna probably say Mania 17.
Nice. So that concludes today's episode of CueBall's Beer Rambles. Thanks for coming on, Dangerous Danny Owens, Danny Blue Eyes, some Mexican gimmick you used to have, and all that.
Yeah, less said about that.
Danny Owens. There we go. What was it?
Ojo Azul De Niro.
There we go. That's it.
Yeah, it was Daddy Blue Eye in Spanish because
Cool.
I couldn't think of another name.
Smart. Yeah, anyway, I've been CueBall's, the person you love to hate the most. This has been Dangerous Danny Owens, the current CWF heavyweight champion. Again, thanks for coming on, Danny. Pleasure to speak to you and loving the beard. Meet you soon.
Thank you.
Stay safe, stay positive, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and all that bullshit you fucking products. Stay positive. #, yeah.